Level 1, the Camillus. You wake on straw, the stones are cold. Your tunic is rough wool. It scratches. Dawn breaks through narrow windows. The temple stirs, footsteps echo above. You roll the bedding, store it in the corner, your back aches already. You are 12 years old, maybe 13. Your father sold your service, 7 years. That is the contract. The priests need servants, boys who can lift, boys who can learn. Boys who can keep quiet. You splash water on your face. The basin is cracked, your reflection wavers. Other boys move around you, silent, efficient. This is your new family. This is your new home. The basement smells like incense and damp earth, like old smoke and older stone. You climb the stairs, into the light, into service. The day begins. The altar priest assigns your tasks. You carry water from the well to the lustration basins. 30 trips before the morning sacrifice. Your shoulders burn. The amphora weighs more each time. You scrub the marble floors where yesterday's blood pooled. The stains never fully disappear. Dark marks spread across white stone like old bruises. You learn that gods are hungry, always hungry. Bread and wine and meat disappear into flames that consume everything and give nothing back. Your hands crack from the lye soap. You polish bronze braziers until your reflection stares back from every surface. You sweep ash from the sacred hearth. The coals are never allowed to die completely. Someone must tend them through every hour. Often that someone is you. You wake in darkness to feed embers that barely glow. The night is cold, the basement is colder. But the fire cannot die. The victimarius teaches you to hold animals. How to grip a lamb so it cannot struggle. Where to place your hands on a bull's massive head. The creatures know what comes next. They always know. Their eyes go wide. Their breathing quickens. You feel their hearts hammering against your palms. The knife falls. Blood runs hot over your fingers. You do not flinch. That is the first lesson. Never flinch. You memorize prayers in languages you do not understand. Latin words that taste like copper in your mouth. You repeat them until they mean nothing and everything. Until they become breath itself. The priests speak to gods you cannot see. You speak to priests who barely see you. This is the chain. This is the order. You are the smallest link. Your mother visits once. She brings honey cakes wrapped in clean cloth. She cries when she sees your hands. They are already changing. Callous from rope and stone and sacred implements. She asks if you are learning. You tell her yes. You are learning that gods require everything and promise nothing. You are learning that service has no end, only levels, only degrees. The other boys teach you which priests hit and which ones simply ignore you. Which rituals require perfect silence and which allow whispered instructions. How to move through the temple like smoke. How to anticipate needs before they are spoken. How to disappear when anger fills the sacred spaces. Your bed is still straw. Your meals are still barley and occasional meat from the sacrifices. But you understand now why you were brought here. Not to serve the gods. To serve those who claim to speak for them. To learn that power flows downward like water finding its level. You are at the bottom. You feel the weight of everyone above. 6 years and 11 months remain on your contract. You count them in dawn prayers and evening ash. In cuts that heal and calluses that harden. In small lessons that accumulate like sediment. Tomorrow you will wake on straw, carry water, hold creatures that know they are about to die. The cycle continues. Level 2, the victimarius. Your hands shake as you learn the precise angle for cutting a sheep's throat while keeping its blood pure for divine consumption. The bronze knife must enter exactly 3 fingers below the jawline. Too high and you nick the windpipe, contaminating the offering with breath. Too low and the blood pools in the chest cavity instead of flowing clean into the sacred bowl. The senior victimarius watches your third attempt. The ram bleats once, then goes silent. Blood streams dark red into the bronze vessel. No bubbles, no foam. That is the correct answer. You spend your mornings in the temple courtyard learning the anatomy of sacrifice. Sheep have 17 major blood vessels. Goats have 19. Bulls have 43. You memorize them all because a single mistake means the entire ceremony starts over, and ceremonies cost money the temple cannot afford to waste. The flamen teaches you the prayers that must be spoken during each cut. Your Latin is still clumsy, your pronunciation marked by your origins in the Subura. But the gods care more about precision than accent. You practice the words until your tongue finds the rhythm without thinking. Your tunic stays stained despite daily washing. The iron smell of blood settles into the fabric, into your hair, under your fingernails. You eat your evening meal alone because the other temple servants avoid the scent that follows you home. The knife becomes familiar in your grip. You learn to read an animal's breathing, to time your cut for the exact moment between heartbeats. The senior victimarius nods when you complete your first perfect goat sacrifice. No tremor in your hand, no hesitation at the moment of contact. The blood flows clean and the entrails fall properly positioned for reading. That counts for something. You begin assisting with larger ceremonies. During the Ides of each month, you prepare 6 sheep for the flaмен's morning ritual. Your cuts are clean now, professional. The animals die quickly, and their blood runs pure into vessels you have learned to position at the exact angle for optimal flow. The work requires strength you did not expect. A fighting bull weighs 800 pounds and does not submit willingly to sacrifice. You learn to use ropes, leverage, the precise pressure points that will bring an animal to its knees without bruising the meat the gods will consume. Your back aches from bending over sacrifice tables. Your shoulders burn from restraining animals that sense their approaching death. You develop calluses where the knife handle rubs against your palm during long ceremony days. The senior victimarius tells you this is normal. He shows you his own hands, scarred white from 20 years of sacred cutting. You memorize the seasonal calendar of sacrifices. Spring requires young lambs. Summer demands full-grown rams. Autumn calls for pregnant ewes whose unborn offspring carry special significance for harvest divination. Winter needs bulls, expensive bulls, whose death feeds the gods through the hungry months. The priests begin acknowledging your presence. The flamen nods when you enter the sanctuary. The augurs discuss which animals will provide the clearest omens. And they include you in these conversations because you understand how blood flows and where entrails fall naturally versus where they fall when the gods intervene. Your family sees you differently now. Your sister steps back when you embrace her, unconsciously reacting to the smell of death that no amount of bathing fully removes. Your mother serves you dinner on separate dishes, cleaned with extra care, as if sacrifice somehow contaminates the clay itself. But you have earned your place in the temple hierarchy. The senior victimarius speaks your name when assigning duties. The other temple servants respect your skill with the blade and the steadiness of your hands during the most sacred moments of ceremony. You watch a new boy arrive at the temple, barely 14, his eyes wide with fear and reverence. He will begin as you began, sweeping floors and learning prayers. Soon he will hold his first knife. Level 3, the Haruspex Minor. You cut open the sheep and steam rises from the cavity. The liver sits warm in your hands, purple and slick, and you turn it slowly in the morning light. The merchants behind you shift their weight. They need to know if their grain shipment will reach Alexandria before the storms come. You study the surface of the organ, searching for the marks that will determine their fortunes. The bile duct runs clean. The color holds steady. The texture feels right under your fingers. You announce that the gods favor their venture. The merchants smile and press silver into your palm. They will load their ships and sail within the week. If you are wrong, their families will go hungry this winter. Your mentor taught you to read the signs in the kidneys of goats and the hearts of doves. You know that a pale liver means drought. Dark spots signal plague. A twisted intestine warns of betrayal. But the organs never speak as clearly as the scrolls claim they should. Sometimes the signs contradict each other. Sometimes you see nothing but meat and blood. You perform your first reading for a centurion planning a raid across the river. His men stand behind him in full armor, sweating in the heat. You slice into a young bull and spread the entrails on the marble table. The heart shows strength. The lungs are clear. But the stomach lining has a strange ripple that could mean anything. The centurion watches your face. 60 soldiers wait for your word. You tell him the gods smile on his mission. He nods and marches his men toward the bridge. 3 days later, half of them come back. The priests above you speak of divine mysteries and sacred knowledge. You know better. You know that reading entrails is guessing with consequences. Every interpretation becomes someone else's reality. Every mistake writes itself in blood across the world. You learn to qualify your pronouncements with careful language. You suggest rather than declare. You offer alternatives instead of certainties. A senator arrives before dawn with questions about his son's military career. You examine a white dove, its organs still warm from life. The liver looks healthy but small. The heart beats strong in your hand until it stops. You could read this as courage tempered by wisdom. You could call it enthusiasm without experience. You could warn of glory that comes too young. The senator wants certainty. You give him hope wrapped in caution. His son will serve with distinction, you tell him, if he remembers that the greatest victories often require the longest preparations. You spend hours studying the sacred texts that map divine will onto animal anatomy. You memorize the 17 different patterns of liver spots and what each one means for harvests. You learn the significance of enlarged spleens and twisted intestines. The knowledge fills your head like water filling a jar, but the actual organs never match the diagrams exactly. Reality refuses to fit the categories. Your hands smell permanently of blood now. You wash them with wine and herbs, but the scent lingers under your fingernails. Your robes carry the odor of sacrifice into every room you enter. Children recognize you by smell before they see your face. You eat less meat than you used to. Some days you eat no meat at all. A young farmer brings you a diseased lamb, hoping you can read its organs for signs about his failing crops. The animal died from rot, its liver spotted with infection. You could tell him the truth about disease and bad soil. Instead, you perform the ritual. You make the cuts. You study the corrupted flesh as if it holds answers instead of sickness. You speak of purification and patient labor. He leaves satisfied. You throw the diseased organs into the fire and watch them burn. The temples promote you based on your reputation for accuracy. Your colleagues respect your careful interpretations. Citizens seek your counsel on matters of war and marriage and trade. You have become someone whose words reshape the world. You have also become someone who lies for a living. Level 4, the Flamen Minor. You serve a god whose name most Romans forget until they need rain or grain or their children to stop coughing. Farina, Palatua, Volturnus. Minor deities for minor needs, but your service is anything but minor. You wake before dawn because the sacred fire must be fed before the sun touches the temple steps. You walk barefoot across marble that holds the night's chill, carrying wood that can never be cut with iron. The knife that shaped it was bronze, older than your grandfather's grandfather. Everything you touch follows rules, carved in stone when Rome was mud huts and sheep paths. Your head is shaved clean, except for a single lock at the crown. The razor was bronze. Your wife cut your hair with bronze shears while reciting words neither of you understand, but both of you memorize. She cannot divorce you now. You cannot divorce her. The god owns your marriage along with everything else. Your children will never see you at their naming ceremonies because you cannot witness blood being spilled, cannot see the umbilical cord cut, cannot be present when life begins in the way that Romans recognize life beginning. You dress in white wool, always white wool. The toga has no iron clasps, no bronze pins, nothing but knots tied in patterns that took you months to learn. Your fingers work automatically now. Muscle memory written in sacred geometry. The fabric cannot touch the ground. You lift it carefully when you walk, exposing ankles that never tan because you rarely leave the temple precinct. The sun sees you only when ritual demands it. The morning sacrifice is a dove. You do not kill it yourself because your hands cannot hold the knife that takes life. The temple slave does this work while you turn away, listening to the flutter of wings, the small sound of ending. When you turn back, the bird lies on stone that others will clean. You speak words over warm flesh, asking your god to accept what has been offered. The dove's blood pools in channels carved for this purpose. You watch it flow toward drains that lead to spaces you have never seen. Your breakfast is bread and fruit. No meat that iron touched in its preparation. No wine that was pressed in machinery, held together with iron nails. The wheat was cut with bronze sickles wielded by men whose families have served your temple for generations. They know which grains can feed you and which would make your god turn away. You eat standing because the sacred meal cannot be taken in comfort. The day stretches with rituals timed to the sun's movement across marble floors. You pour oil on altars at specific angles of light. You burn incense when shadows reach painted lines on temple walls. Your feet follow patterns older than the city walls, heel to toe, never crossing the threshold incorrectly, never stepping where initiates have not been purified to step. Other priests watch your movements for errors. They find them sometimes. Correction means starting over, means the god might withdraw favor, means crops could fail, because you placed your left foot where your right foot belonged. You have not touched metal in 3 years. Your fingernails are cut with obsidian flakes. Your food is prepared with tools that predate iron. You live in a world of stone and bronze and wood and bone, surrounded by a city where metal shapes everything from coins to weapons to the nails that hold houses together. Children point at you in the streets. They whisper about the priest who cannot touch what they touch, who cannot see what they see, who serves gods their parents barely remember. You sleep on a bed with no iron frame. The mattress is stuffed with wool and reeds. Your dreams are of your god's voice, speaking in languages that died before Latin was born. Level 5, the auger. You hold the lituus in your right hand. The curved staff weighs more than it looks. Ivory inlaid with gold, handed down through generations of men who watch the sky for Rome's future. The wood is smooth from centuries of palms, gripping it exactly where you grip it now. The templum is marked. You've drawn the invisible lines across the heavens with your staff, quartering the sky into sacred sections. Northeast for favorable omens, southwest for disaster. The generals stand behind you in their scarlet cloaks, silent. They cannot speak until you speak. That is the law. A flight of ravens crosses from left to right. 6 birds, you count twice. The number matters, the direction matters. Everything matters when the fate of legions hangs on your interpretation of wing patterns. You wear the trabea, the short purple striped toga that marks your station. Only augurs wear these colors. Only augurs stand in the sacred enclosure on the Palatine Hill while senators wait. Your name appears on the collegium lists. 15 augurs for all of Rome. You are one of 15 men who can delay a war with a word. The birds circle higher. You track their movement against the clouds, noting which quarter of the sky they favor. A consul shifts his weight behind you. He has 30,000 men camped outside the city walls, waiting to march north against the Germanic tribes. They have been waiting for 3 days. They will wait until you see what you need to see. Your back aches from standing motionless. The templum requires perfect stillness during the observation period. No movement that might disturb the divine signs. Your left knee throbs where you injured it as a flamen, years ago carrying the sacred vessels. The pain sharpens when rain is coming. Today the sky is clear, but your knee says otherwise. You learned the auspicial books by heart. 16 scrolls of interpretation guidelines, written in archaic Latin that even other priests struggle to read. You can recite the meanings of every bird behavior, every atmospheric condition, every combination of signs. When thunder comes from the northwest during a hawk's flight, that means military victory but civilian unrest. When eagles soar in pairs during the morning hours, that favors naval expeditions but warns against mountain campaigns. The ravens scatter. 3 fly southeast, 3 northwest. A split flight during military consultation. You know what this means. You have known for the past hour, watching the patterns repeat. But knowing and speaking are different acts. Once you speak, men die or live based on your words. A young senator joins the group behind you. His first time attending an augural consultation. He whispers to his companion. The whisper carries in the still air. You do not turn around. You have learned not to see the faces of men whose decisions wait on your interpretation. It makes the speaking harder. Your fingers adjust their grip on the lituus. The ivory is warming under your palm. Generations of augurs have announced victories and defeats while holding this staff. You feel the weight of their decisions along with your own. The books give you the meanings, but they do not tell you how to carry the responsibility of Rome's future in your voice. The wind shifts. The birds disappear beyond the temple roofs. The observation period is complete. The generals and senators wait for your pronouncement. 30,000 soldiers wait in their camps. The Germanic tribes advance towards Roman territory, unaware that their fate is being decided by the flight patterns of 6 black birds over the 7 hills. You turn to face the assembly. Your throat is dry. You raise the lituus and speak the ritual words that will send Rome to war or keep her legions home. The formula is ancient. The consequences are immediate. That is what it means to interpret the will of the gods for an empire that stretches from Britain to Egypt. Level 6, the Haruspex Major. You carry the bronze knife with the ivory handle. The blade is 8 fingers wide, sharpened daily by your apprentices. When you draw it across the bull's throat, the cut must be perfect, one motion. The gods see hesitation in jagged edges. The army commanders know your face now. They request you by name for the auspicia before major engagements. You arrive at camp 3 days before battle. Establish your sacred tent precisely 100 paces from the general's quarters. Close enough to be summoned, far enough to maintain the mystery. Your hands read the liver like a map. Each lobe tells you something different. The smooth surface speaks of favorable winds. The rough patches warn of betrayal in the ranks. You have memorized 47 different configurations of veins and what they mean for cavalry charges. 17 patterns that predict siege outcomes. You travel with 6 apprentices now. They carry your instruments in cedar boxes lined with purple silk. The ceremonial bowls, the gold stylus for marking observations. The scroll cases containing the sacred charts passed down from Etruscan masters. Your apprentices sleep outside your tent. Take turns watching for omens in the night sky. The weight of accuracy presses against your chest every morning. 3 years ago, you read prosperity in a sheep's liver before the siege of a Gallic stronghold. The Romans won but lost 6,000 men. The general questioned your reading publicly. You explained that prosperity can mean different things. Victory with heavy cost is still victory. He accepted this. You learned to be more careful with your words. You remember the Haruspecs who preceded you, found dead in his tent after predicting disaster for Emperor Claudius's British campaign. The liver had shown clear warnings. Deep fissures across both lobes, discolored patches that meant divine displeasure. He reported his findings honestly. Claudius ignored the warnings and conquered Britain anyway. The Haruspecs died of mysterious stomach pains 2 months later. Now you phrase your predictions carefully. You have learned to find multiple meanings in every liver. When the signs are truly dark, you focus on smaller details. The favorable curve of the gallbladder, the healthy color of the spleen. You give commanders options. Let them choose which interpretation serves their plans. Your villa in Rome sits empty most of the year. Your wife manages the household slaves, raises your 3 children without you. Your youngest daughter is 7 years old. She no longer runs to embrace you when you return from campaigns. She watches from across the room with careful eyes. You have become a stranger who appears between wars. The other priests respect your position now. When you attend ceremonies at the temple, they step aside to let you pass. The Pontifex Maximus consults you on matters of state augury. Your interpretations influence treaties, trade agreements, the timing of festivals. Your words carry weight that could shift the empire. But you sleep poorly in campaign tents. Every liver you read could be wrong. Every prediction carries the possibility of catastrophe. You dream about the patterns you might have missed. The subtle discolorations that meant plague instead of plenty. The vessel formations that warned of Germanic ambushes. Your bronze knife cuts through flesh and certainty with equal precision. You read the future in organs that still pulse with fading life, knowing that kings have died because someone like you saw disaster in a perfectly healthy liver. Someone like you convinced a general to attack when the gods demanded patience. The apprentices watch your every movement. They memorize your techniques, your interpretations, your careful diplomatic language. One of them will replace you eventually. Stand over warm altars making predictions that topple dynasties. You clean the bronze blade after every sacrifice. Polish it until it reflects the torchlight like water. Tomorrow there will be another liver to read. Another future to divine from the sacred mysteries of flesh. Level 7, the Flamen Mayor. You serve Jupiter himself. The greatest god demands the greatest priest. Your apex cap never leaves your head in public. The white wool binding your forehead was spun by hands that touched no corpse, no iron, no leather from a beast that died violently. You are purity made flesh. The sacred laws govern every breath. You cannot touch a horse. You cannot see an army in formation. You cannot sleep outside Rome for a single night. The binding cord around your waist has never been tied in a knot, only wound in spirals, because knots imprison the god's power. Your toga has no buckles, no clasps, no iron anywhere. Even your razor is bronze. Your house sits on the Palatine Hill. Senators visit you now. They wait in your atrium like petitioners. Your wife holds the title Flaminica. She performs her own sacred duties. Her hair is bound in 6 braids, never cut except during the new moon ceremonies. She cannot climb more than 3 steps of any stairway, lest she rise above the earth's sacred level. You wake before dawn for the daily sacrifice. The white bull must be perfect, no scars, no blemishes, no marks of human labor. You examine each animal yourself. Your hands know the difference between acceptable and profane. The knife touches the throat precisely. The blood flows into the patera. You read the liver surface like text. Dark spots mean disease in the city. Smooth lobes promised good harvests. The consul requests your presence at state ceremonies. You walk behind him in processions. Citizens drop coins at your feet. Children reach to touch your robes. That counts for something. Your blessing carries weight now. Merchants name their sons after you. Marriage contracts include prayers you wrote. But the sacred laws bind tighter than bronze. Your father dies in Gaul while serving as governor. You petition the Pontifex Maximus for permission to attend the funeral rites. The request returns denied. Jupiter's priest cannot cross the Pomerian boundary, cannot look upon a corpse, cannot set foot on foreign soil, even to honor family blood. You perform the proper rituals in Rome instead. You burn incense. You speak his name to the statue. Your mother writes that his pyre burned beautifully. The isolation deepens. You cannot witness gladiatorial games. Too much bloodshed in Jupiter's sight. You cannot attend dinner parties where wine flows freely after dark. The god requires sobriety past sunsets. Friends stop inviting you. Your brother mentions family gatherings in letters now instead of expecting your presence. Your wife bears 3 children, but 2 die in infancy. The sacred laws forbid you from touching their bodies. She performs the burial rites alone, while you stand outside the family tomb, reciting prayers to air. Your surviving son learns to approach you formally. He calls you Flamen in public, father only in private whispers. The city's rhythms revolve around your calendar. You mark the Ides. You declare which days permit business and which demand rest. Farmers travel from distant villages to request your blessing on their seed. Your pronouncements determine when armies march and when marriages take place. That authority tastes like metal in your mouth. You own property throughout the peninsula now. Grain shipments arrive monthly from Sicily. Your household staff numbers in the hundreds. Gold fills the strong boxes beneath your floor. But you cannot leave Rome to inspect any of it. You cannot travel beyond the city's sacred boundary, even to visit estates that bear your name. Each morning, you wake inside the same marble walls. Each evening, you sleep in the same bronze bed. The god's presence grows heavier each year. You feel Jupiter's weight in your bones. Your movements slow under the constant pressure of divine attention. The sacred fire burns in your private shrine. You tend it personally. The flame hasn't died in 7 years. Outside your window, a young acolyte sweeps the temple steps. His movements are eager, quick. He believes service leads to freedom. He has no idea what waits ahead. The cycle continues. Level 8, the Rex Sacrarum. You wear a crown that weighs more than memory. The flame and dialysis bows when you pass. The Pontifex Maximus nods with careful respect. Every priest in Rome acknowledges your precedence. You outrank them all in matters sacred. You cannot vote. You cannot hold magistracy. You cannot command legions. You cannot even attend Senate meetings as anything more than a religious observer. The irony tastes like copper pennies on your tongue. Your rituals predate the Republic itself. You perform the sacred rites exactly as they were done when kings ruled Rome, before the consulship existed, before the Senate held power. The words you speak are so archaic that linguistic scholars debate their meaning. You don't debate, you simply recite, syllable perfect. Breath perfect, movement perfect. Understanding is not required. Precision is everything. The Regia becomes your world. This ancient building where the kings once lived, where you now conduct ceremonies that cannot be moved, cannot be altered, cannot be questioned. The walls hold smoke from 5 centuries of sacrifices. You add yours to the accumulation every day. Same time, same words, same knife angles. Same prayer positions your predecessors used when Rome was 7 hills and a dream. Political Romans watch you with fascinating confusion. Here stands the highest religious authority in their world, forbidden by law and custom from touching actual power. You can declare dies nefasti, days when no public business may be conducted. The entire machinery of empire stops when you speak certain words. But you cannot propose legislation, cannot command armies, cannot even own property beyond what your office requires. The restriction chafes differently now than it did when you were a simple priest. Then political ambition seemed distant, theoretical. Now you watch men with half your religious authority shape the destiny of nations, while you memorize prayers in languages the city has forgotten. The Flamen Quirinalis asks your opinion on ritual matters. The urban praetor asks your blessing on new courts. No one asks your thoughts on war, trade, or the future of Rome. Your wife becomes a priestess by marriage, bound to restrictions nearly as severe as yours. She cannot leave the city for more than 3 nights, cannot touch iron, cannot climb stairs with more than 3 steps unless ritual necessity demands it. She married a man. She inherited a collection of sacred prohibitions older than written law. Some nights you lie awake, counting all the things you both cannot do, cannot be, cannot touch. The calendar belongs to you. When to plant, when to harvest, when armies may march, when courts may convene, when citizens may marry. The rhythm of Roman life flows through your decisions about what days are sacred, what days are cursed, what days belong to the gods. You hold time itself in your hands. Time holds you in its requirements. Young priests observe your ceremonies with reverence and puzzlement. They see authority that cannot be challenged and power that cannot be exercised. They watch you perform rituals that stopped making obvious sense before their grandfathers were born. Some ask about meanings. You recite the proper responses. The meanings, if they ever existed as simple explanations, died with the kings. What remains is the doing, the precise, unending doing. The forum bustles with senators debating laws that will reshape provinces. You return to the Regia to sacrifice a white heifer whose blood must fall in exactly the pattern your office demands. The blood teaches nothing, solves nothing, changes nothing about grain shipments or Germanic tribes or Egyptian treaties. But if the blood falls wrong, if your words stumble, if your movements vary by the width of a finger from tradition, Rome itself becomes religiously unclean. A young man approaches the Regia steps, carrying himself with the particular confidence of someone born to religious nobility. His toga is precisely folded. His expression is eager. He wants to understand the mysteries. He thinks understanding matters. The cycle continues. Level 9, the Pontifex. You control time itself. The calendar flows from your hands. When you declare a day nefastus, the courts close, the markets empty, the wedding ceremonies stop. When you mark a day as commissalis, the assembly can meet, laws can pass, the republic breathes. 355 days stretch before you each year, and you decide what Romans can do with every single one. Your house overlooks the forum from the Palatine Hill. You wake before dawn to study the intricate calculations that govern sacred time. The lunar months must align with solar years. The intercalary month appears when you command it. Merchants wait for your pronouncements. Generals postpone campaigns until you give the word. Your secretary maintains the fasti, the great calendar that guides an empire, and your signature appears on every revision. You wear the apex, the pointed cap that marks your rank among the College of Pontiffs. The leather ties under your chin have worn grooves in your skin after 15 years. When you walk through the city, conversations stop. Citizens step aside. They know you carry the authority to reshape their plans with a single decree. The college meets in the Regia every month. You sit with 14 other pontiffs around the marble table where decisions echo across the Mediterranean. You review the calendar requests flooding in from provincial governors. Gaul wants to delay a campaign until after the harvest festival. Syria requests permission to hold emergency assemblies during traditionally forbidden days. Egypt asks when their tribute payments fall due according to Roman sacred law. Your knowledge runs deeper than mathematics. You memorize the ritual requirements for every ceremony in the Roman calendar, the precise words for the October horse sacrifice, the exact movements for the Lupercalia purification rites, the proper timing for when new consuls can take their vows. Younger priests approach you with questions about procedures their teachers never covered. You answer from memory that spans decades of accumulated detail. But the calendar owns you more than you own it. You cannot travel during crucial intercalation periods. You miss your daughter's wedding because it falls during the sacred deliberations that determine next year's festival dates. Your wife learns to plan family gatherings around your religious obligations. She stops asking when you will be free. The answer is never. You receive death threats from merchants whose business plans collapse when you declare unexpected holy days. Anonymous letters appear at your door threatening your family if you do not align the calendar with their trading schedules. Your guards increase after a knife appears embedded in your front gate. The power to control time makes enemies of everyone whose time you control. Sleep comes in fragments between midnight calculations. You dream of lunar cycles and solar drift. Your fingers are permanently stained with ink from endless calendar revisions. The mathematical precision required to keep Roman time aligned with celestials' movements occupies every quiet moment. You calculate intercalations while walking to the market. You review festival schedules during dinner conversations. The responsibility weighs heavier each year. Provincial cities depend on your calendar for their legal systems. Military campaigns wait for your approval of auspicious dates. Wedding seasons shift according to your sacred calculations. Marriage contracts specify pending pontifical approval of nuptial days. Your decisions ripple through millions of lives across the empire. You train your replacement carefully, knowing the transition cannot fail. The calendar must continue unbroken. Roman time must flow seamlessly from your hands to his. You teach him the secret adjustments that keep the civic year aligned with agricultural seasons. You show him which political pressures to resist and which accommodations serve the greater religious order. But above you sits one final authority. The Pontifex Maximus watches your work, and his word overrules even your control of time. Level 10, the Pontifex Maximus. You live in the Regia where Numa Pompilius once received laws directly from the goddess Egeria. Your bedchamber sits above foundations laid 700 years ago. The same marble floors where Rome's second king walked when the city was mud, huts and ambition. You sleep where gods first whispered to mortals about how to build an empire. The scarlet and purple of your robes weighs 20 pounds, silk from China. Dyes worth more than most citizens see in a lifetime. When you walk through the Forum Romanum, conversations stop, merchants bow, senators step aside, children point. You are the bridge between earth and heaven, elected for life by the College of Pontifices. You speak for Jupiter Optimus Maximus to an empire of 60 million souls. Your morning ritual begins at dawn. You wash your hands 7 times in silver bowls, spring water from the sacred grove of Diana. Your slave holds the libation wine while you pour exact measures for each household god. Mars for the legions in Germania, Minerva for the scholars in Alexandria, Vesta for the fire that has burned for 8 centuries without dying. Every gesture prescribed, every word memorized. One mistake and the gods withdraw their favor from Rome itself. The correspondence covers your desk like snow. Requests from Gaul about proper sacrifice for a bridge dedication. Questions from Egypt about integrating Isis worship with Roman custom. Disputes over calendar adjustments from Syria. Augural interpretations needed for military campaigns in Dacia. You decide which gods approve which actions across 3 continents. Your word determines if armies march or if harvests are blessed. The College of Pontifices meets in your private chambers. 15 of Rome's most powerful men defer to your judgment on sacred law. You interpret omens that guide imperial policy. When earthquakes shake Antioch, you determine what the gods demand. When plagues strike Africa, you prescribe the rituals for appeasement. Your decisions echo from Hadrian's Wall to the Euphrates River. You dine alone most evenings. Your wife died 6 years ago. Your children visit on festivals, formal and distant. They address you as Pontifex Maximus, not father. The slaves who dress you each morning have served in this house for decades. They know your habits better than your family knows your thoughts. You eat from plates that belong to Augustus. The wine comes from vineyards older than Christianity. The headache started 3 years ago. Sharp pains behind your left eye during long ceremonies. You lose feeling in your fingers when you hold the sacred knife for too long. Your knees buckle during the 6-hour rituals for Jupiter. The physician gives you powders that help you sleep, but leave your mind cloudy for morning. Consultations, you cannot show weakness. The gods do not choose the infirm as their voice. The letters from provincial governors grow more urgent. New religions spread through the eastern territories. Strange teachers preaching about resurrection and eternal life. Foreign gods promising salvation to slaves and freedmen. The The traditional rituals feel hollow to crowds who want personal redemption instead of civic duty. You issue edicts requiring proper observance. You threaten punishment for unauthorized worship. The old ways are fading like smoke from extinguished altar fires. Tonight you review applications for the College of Pontifices. Young men from the finest families, eager to begin their service to the gods. One candidate catches your attention. 19 years old, flawless lineage, perfect marks in augural studies. His essay on sacred law shows deep understanding of ritual purity. He has no idea what he is asking for. The decades of isolation. The weight of speaking for gods who grow more silent each year. The slow realization that empire and eternity are not the same thing. You approve his candidacy. Tomorrow he will take his first vows in the temple of Jupiter. His voice will shake with nervous excitement. His family will beam with pride. He believes he is beginning a glorious career in service to Rome's immortal gods. They always do. The Social continues.